Hi, Steve here. The globalists are making their move to remove President Trump and pick up their agenda where they left off when they thought Hillary Clinton would be in the White House. While we in America sit back and watch our sports and mainstream media lie to us daily, the globalists and the satanic left continue to march toward the nightmare described in the Bible prophecy. If you think it's some kind of conspiracy theory to depopulate this earth, you have no idea what kind of nightmare Americans could face very soon. The leftist coup will eventually kick off with a reign of terror, including the unlimited use of guillotines. More on that later. We're here at a place where the Apostle Paul told us would happen in 2 Thessalonians 2:3. He said, "But don't be fooled. People will rebel against God. Then before the Lord returns, the wicked one who is doomed to be destroyed will appear." Jesus said, it's because of an increased distance from God's instructions that the lawlessness is increasing. This is exactly what's happening. People have rebelled against God, and the rebellion is on every imaginable level. The deep state government is so corrupt, but even as they're being exposed, they're pretending to be the most self-righteous people on earth in order to convince the American public, using their feigned sincerity, that our duly elected president is the bad guy.
We want to make it abundantly clear that any effort by the Secretary, by the President, or anyone else to interfere with the Congress's ability to call before it relevant witnesses will be considered as evidence of obstruction of the lawful functions of Congress.
And this President of the United States is stooping to a level that is beneath the dignity of the Constitution of the United States and our founders, since the chairman mentioned our founders. They put guardrails in the Constitution because they knew there might be someone who would overplay his or her power. They never thought that we would have a president who would kick those guardrails over and disregard the Constitution and say, Article 2 says that I can do whatever I feel like.
But that's not the worst part. They're destroying the family and humanity through every perverted way of brainwashing our children and young people. Kmart unveils same-sex family dolls targeting children as young as 3 in Australia. And Australian media, they're just gushing over the new inclusive doll playset. The illegals are pouring in throughout Europe, and the result is mixing a population of people with law with the people who have their own form of law, and then trying to hide the resulting lawlessness and pretending it's not happening whenever a crime occurs. This is an evil plan. Crime statistics in Paris, France show a continuing surge in violent crime, with some areas of the city seeing a 70% rise in violent incidents. Crimes like sex attacks on the public transport system had increased by 30% in 2018. This article asks, is a new Arab Spring unfolding in the Middle East? In Iraq, demonstrators are being shot dead in the streets. In Lebanon, protesters have paralyzed the country and seem set to bring down the government. In recent weeks, the Egyptian security forces crushed attempts to protest against the police state of President Abdul Fattah al-Sisi. Iraq, Lebanon, and Egypt have plenty of differences, but the protesters have grievances in common, and they're shared by millions of people, particularly the young across the Arab Middle East. Two of the biggest complaints are against corruption and unemployment. One leads to another. Iraq ranks as one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Lebanon is slightly better, but not much. Just like America, the Middle East is full of lawlessness and corruption. Corruption is a cancer. It eats away at ambition and hope for those who become its victims. Russia disconnected from the internet today to test cyber war defenses. Russia reverted to an internal version of the web called RuNet, which is isolated from the networks of other nations. Putin is well aware of how they could be attacked through the internet, and he's not going to sit back and allow that to happen. The Russian government claims that the test is intended to shield Russian systems from a potential cyber attack. They said they're conducting exercises to ensure the stable, safe, and holistic functioning of the internet and public communications networks in the Russian Federation. They're doing exactly that because they know that they can be hit with an EMP by China or even the deep state of the United States. It's way more than being able to get on Google and do a search. It has everything to do with their satellites and their military systems. This article in the Mirror actually has a chaos map where they show that violent deaths will soar in 10 years due to food and water shortages. I believe it'll happen sooner than 10 years from now. And also, there's something else that's going to happen before that. It was all recorded in the book of Revelation by the Apostle John in chapter 6. Then another horse came out. It was fiery red, and its rider was given the power to take away all peace from the earth so that people would slaughter one another. He was also given a big sword. Researchers say the number of deaths due to conflict and rioting caused by food, water, and fuel shortages is likely to increase rapidly over the next 10 years. But here's the thing. It's the globalist ruling elites that cause food shortages, water and fuel shortages, and it's their corruption the people are standing up against. The deep state globalists and Luciferian madmen and women in this country, they already have a plan to take care of those who will riot and stand up against them. Violent deaths linked to price rises will soar around the world, including in Europe. If you want to see the plan of the globalists, just look at California. They're burning them out, pricing them out, and legislating them out. There are more homeless people living in the state of California now than all the other states combined.
Just after midnight, crews attacked 2 new fires south of Los Angeles. And more than 500 firefighters battled the Hillside Fire as it engulfed 6 San Bernardino homes. What did this look like?
Well, if you ever throw gasoline on a campfire and it fume up like that, about 40 feet in the air, and the wind was blowing.
Another fire in Simi Valley that sent residents and their animals running is still only 10% contained. With multiple fires burning across the state, firefighters have been working around the clock.
So, do you want to know what I see coming next? I see the fulfillment of what Jesus said in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 24. Peoples will fight each other. Nations will fight each other. And there will be famines and earthquakes in various parts of the world. Nations and kingdoms will go to war against each other. People will starve to death. And in some places, there will be earthquakes. And then the next verse was, for all those who put their faith in Yeshua Messiah. At that time, you will be arrested and handed over to be punished and put to death. And all peoples will hate you because of me. At that time, many will be trapped into betraying and hating each other. You will be arrested, punished, and even killed. Because of me, Jesus, you will be hated by people of all nations. Many will give up and will betray and hate each other. Do you know who those people are that are going to betray and hate each other? They are people who are religious in name only, but not in truth. The third seal is the black horse, where rationing of food will happen, and a fourth seal broken will bring massive death by war, by famine, more famine, and plagues and wild beasts. When the Lamb opened the fifth seal, John said, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been put to death for proclaiming the word of God, that is, for bearing witness of Jesus. They shouted, Sovereign Ruler, Holy One, the True One, how long will it be before you judge and punish the people of this earth who killed us? This will be the greatest persecution we've ever seen. The Great Tribulation comes next.
We just drew company. We just got people coming from outside the door. He just come outside the door to look and see what we were. So we're going to start hitting back out. We don't want to draw any more attention than necessary. Yeah, there they are, all those coffin liners, just like they said on the internet. Now, what they're gonna do with all those coffin liners, I don't know. But doggone if I'm gonna come this far and not get out. I'm getting out.
You going over there?
I'm going over there. You can come to us later. Can't waste time though. Here are these liners, and indeed there are quite a few of them. There are quite a few of them. Alright, same old, same old. They seem to be about 6-7 feet long, and maybe, here's my arm width, about 1.5 arm width across. And there are indeed many of them here.
Back to the guillotine. Did you know that the guillotine is the most efficient killing machine on earth? Chop off the head and the organ harvesting can continue in abundance. Supposedly, a guillotine can chop off the heads of about 100 people an hour. In 1 hour, the ruling authority has the capacity to execute as many as 3 million people. In one 10-hour day, 30 million people could be executed by way of guillotine. The best question to ask is not whether anyone would do this, but rather how many people will be executed by guillotine after the satanic leftists' overthrow of America is complete and the reign of terror begins. There are beheading centers in America. Yeah, their locations are held in secret as much as possible. The locations of UN troops are also largely held in secret. The locations of guillotines and concealed UN troops often share a common location. These locations include abandoned military bases which have been shut down by the BRAC Commission. Every closed base that hasn't been shut down and converted into commercial and residential development should be considered to be an anti-American deep state controlled location. There are some bases that are open, but large parts of the base are open to foreign troops, UN troops, in places like Fort Stewart in Georgia. Certain sources have revealed that many guillotines are stored in underground facilities at various military bases like Luke Air Force Base in Glendale, Arizona. Camp Grayling in Michigan is another site where both variables remain hidden and covert. There are people of prominence and respect who have warned the American public about what's coming. Alex Jones has been warning people for years, at least whoever would listen and not believe the lies about him, that he's a conspiracy theorist. No, what Alex is a conspiracy exposer. If you need proof of who Jesus is, it will be proven by the lawlessness and the evil that we see coming to pass. He said it would happen over 2,000 years ago. You better make sure that you're saved or born again, and that Jesus really is the Lord of your life, because if he's not, you'll be one of those Christians who's led to the slaughter, believing what your pastor taught you about being raptured before any of this horror starts to happen. Think about it. Now that I have proof that YouTube's shadow banning my channel, I just wanted to remind all of you that I have the videos being uploaded to 3 other platforms right now. And there's a link in the website as well to all of those video channels. Based on everything I know is coming, everything I've already seen happen, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you. Your support and prayers for me and for this channel are greatly appreciated, and they always will be. You and I together are Think About It. You and I together are the reason that I keep going. We're all on this earth together at this time, and God has a purpose for each one of us, and the reason why we're all here now when we could have just as easily been born 100 years ago. But we weren't. Also, I just want to remind you that all of the links are in the description box below, at least of the platforms, but you can always go to the website and find the links in the very top menu. Only God knows how long I will be allowed to stay on YouTube, but I believe they're already shadow banning and pushing the channel down so far in the search results that some people have even told me they can't even find me when they search. Thanks again for partnering with me to get the truth out while we still can. Thank you so much.